Welcome to our next Photoshop tutorial. This time we'll be doing a great fire text effect. This can create a great illusion of text that looks like it's either made of fire or on fire. We've already started with a great fire effect image we'll use later in the tutorial. We'll proceed by opening a new file, making the height 1280 and the width 720. Change the background to black by using the Paint Bucket tool, and make sure the foreground color is black. Use the Text tool next, and a great tall font. I'll type the word fire here so we can see the effect on it later. Let's go to the blending options on our layer and add an outer glow. Change the color in the box here to F70300, then hit OK. Select the satin blending next and change that color to 872D0F, and hit OK as well. Change the opacity on the satin effect to 100%. Change the distance to 10 pixels, then hit OK. Now select Inner Glow. Change the blend mode to color dodge here. Next, change the color to E5C23B, then hit OK. Change the opacity to 100%, the size to 10 pixels, then hit OK. Now we're done with our text, so hit right-click on the text layer and rasterize our type. Now we're going to fade out the top of our fire text. So use the eraser tool and set the brush to 250 pixels with 0 hardness. Erase some of the text as you see here. Now we'll go up to Filter, Distort, then Zigzag. Set the amount to 4 and the ridges to 4. Make sure the style is set to Pond Ripples and hit OK. Now we'll select our fire image we've opened and copy that into our text image we're working on. Position the fire image over our text. Then we'll switch over to the Channels tab here next to our layers. Hold Ctrl and click the green layer to load a selection of the areas of fire in our image. Head back to the Layers tab, then press Ctrl J to make a copy of the selection we got from the Channels tab. Delete our original fire layer. Here I'll rename the layer Fire Main to stay organized. We'll move the fire around to wherever we like in the image. From here, we'll resize the image to fit over our text, then duplicate the layers so we can make more fire effect on our text. Be sure to resize, rotate, and erase edges of the fire around the text so it looks like the text is on fire realistically. And that's how you do this effect. In our next tutorial for Photoshop, let's create a great lens flare effect for our photos. Of course, you could use the lens flare effect in Photoshop, but it usually comes out pretty cheaply made and poorly well done. We'll go make our own effect and have it look great and professional. So we'll take our image of a sunset in the back here and add a new layer to the scene. Then we'll take a brush and make sure the hardness is set to 0, the size to about 300. And then we'll change the color of our brush to white. Next, we'll paint a spot, and then zoom in to the brush effect on our image. We'll add some noise to our effect using Filter, Noise, Add Noise. Use about 3.5% of noise. Make sure it's uniform and monochromatic. And hit OK. The noise is going to prevent the effect from banding if we scale the effect. Now let's duplicate the layer. through the right-click Duplicate Layer option, or you can use Ctrl-J. We'll name the new layer White and the old layer Orange. Next, we'll add color to the orange layer. Hide the white layer. Then go to Image, Adjustments, then Hue and Saturation. We'll color it by turning on the Colorize option. Move the hue over to a nice orange and the saturation near 100%. You can make it a little lighter or darker if you'd like. Now we'll set the orange layer to a blend mode of screen. Then we'll set the white layer to a blend of linear dodge add. With the orange layer, we're going to free transform. Draw out our orange layer a bit, making sure that the link is selected to keep the ratio. Commit the changes. We'll select both layers, and we can drag it wherever we want. So let's move them over the sun and the image, and then free transform the effect so it's large and covering the sun. Make sure your two images are centered together. Now we have our lens flare effect. If you want to make sure that you don't want to wash out the color in the image, go to the orange layer, set it to screen, and then the white layer to linear dodge add. Change the opacity of the orange layer down to 50% or so. With the white layer, we're doing the trick here, which is the fill opacity rather than the actual opacity. Set that to about 15% or 20%. You can play with the opacity and fill layer here, and also do some transforming and stretching the lens flare effect to hit more parts of the photo. This is a very quick and easy way to generate a lens flare that you have full control over the way it looks on your image. Welcome to the next tutorial in our Photoshop series. We're going to go over a way to create a quick lomography effect. And a lomography effect is a type of effect that you might see on Instagram photos or other types of photos that make it look kind of a hipster-like or retro look. Now, it's very easy to create this look. It's actually extremely fast to create this look in Photoshop. All you have to do is open up a photo. You can see, for example, I have a photo right here. You want to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and Curves. And we're going to make a new Curves layer here. Now I'm going to make the Curves layer called the lomography effect, which we'll go ahead and type that in. And you can see we've got a nice little layer that goes over our background. It also has its own layer, so that way we won't have to worry about making the effect on the image and not having it affect the image permanently. So the way we start this effect is we go through and check out the curves. So we've got the histogram here, and we want to start out by actually putting a point here and dragging it down a little bit, which you see will actually drag down some of the shadows in the image. And then you want to put a little point up here and drag that one up, which will actually drag in some more of the light into the image. Then we'll go into the red, and we'll actually put a little point there, drag that down a little bit so we can get some more in there. But we actually want to drag the shadows up a little bit so we can get some more darkness depth to the image. We also want to drag up the end here as well and go to the green and do the same thing. Drag up a little bit there, drag down a little bit at the top. And then when we get to the blue, we'll actually do this a little bit different. We actually want to drag up on the previous one, and we actually want to drag down at the top here, which will actually add a lot of different blues to the image there. So if we go back to the original RGB, we can actually pull up the shadows a bit, because we want to create that kind of soft tone in the shadows as well. And by doing that, that allows us to create a great lomography effect. It's actually kind of overdone here. It's a little bit too much on the image. So if we go to the opacity, and when you turn the opacity down to maybe about like 50, 55, you can see that it has put itself over the image, and you can see a nice effect on your image that gives it kind of a hipster or retro look. And you can turn on and off the layer to see the difference in the image as we put the Lomo effect on. And that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Welcome to our advanced GIMP tutorial where we'll actually show you a way how to do digital black and white conversion. It's quite an easy effect to do. And we'll start by opening up an image that you might have seen before on a previous tutorial. We'll open that up and we'll show you how we'll be able to do the conversion here. Now, you can do a saturate effect in GIMP as well, but what I like to do is create a new layer. So we'll go over here and we'll go ahead and make a new layer. We'll make that transparent, that's fine. And from there, we'll also create a layer mask. So go ahead and add a layer mask to this layer. Make sure that it's set to white so it's full opacity. And you want to change this layer's mode to saturation. And by changing this layer's mode to saturation, you'll be able to change the opacity on the saturation on the layer. To get the saturation on the layer, you'll go over to the bucket tool and you will put in black on the actual layer itself. And this will create desaturation of the layer. And you'll be able to see the entire layer is in black and white. Now, you can set the opacity on this so the effect is not that dramatic. So you can have some color, you can have less color, all the way up to 100%. So you can change this as you will. Instead of just using the saturation effect, which will be one time only, you can use this to great effect to choose the granular control over the black and white conversion effect. Now, what you can also do is with this and having the mask, you can go to the original layer itself, use the scissors tool, and you can pick out parts of the image you want to have in color itself. So if you see here, I have picked out some of the glasses to be in color, and the scissors tool is one of the best tools for this as it tries to find the edges of the glasses on our background layer here. And of course, you can drag each point to make sure it tries to find all of the different parts of the glasses, and then we'll go ahead and click inside to select it. And if we do that and then go back to our layer mask for our saturation layer, we can go in there and we can select the brush tool, make sure it's set to black because we're going to be painting on the layer mask so we can make the color shine through. And you can just start painting in those glasses there and make those glasses show up in actual color compared to the rest of the image. And that's just a very quick way of how to do digital black and white conversion in GIMP. Welcome to the next in our tutorial series about GIMP. In this next tutorial, we'll go over a quick way how to do a coloring of a sketch that you might scan in or you have received on the internet. And it's really easy to start coloring in GIMP. To start, we'll go ahead and have our sketch open, as you can see right here, and we will go ahead and add a new layer above that sketch. So we'll go ahead and make that a transparent layer, and we will also make sure that that layer is set to multiply instead of normal, because if it is set to normal, you'll just draw the color over the sketch beneath that layer, but with multiply, it actually adds the color over the layer, but in a way so that the previous layer on the bottom shows through. So if you see right here, we've set our color to something that's a little bit more skin toned. Make sure to do that as well, hit OK. And then we will start coloring in over top our sketch. And you can see just by coloring in here with the color that we picked, a nice skin tone color, we can start to get the sketch to look more like something that is 3D or an actual colored in sketch. Now this is a part of the longer process here, is to color in all the parts you need. So I'm going to do just a really quick once over so that way it doesn't take too long and you can see the effects, but also we're not too worried about it being too messy. So as you can see there, I've colored in her face on this sketch. What we can also do is switch a little bit to the burn tool. We'll switch to the dodge and burn tool, then we'll switch to burn down here at the bottom on the options, so that way we can put in some shadows in the image where we think where the shadows are. And we can make sure to change your size of your brush. You can use that using the bracket keys on your keyboard. Left bracket, right bracket changes the size of your brush. And we'll brush in some shadows here on the image, right where the shadows seem to be. If you have a sketch that has the shadows on it, it makes it easier for you to burn in some shadows. And every time you click and burn in the shadows, it will stack on top of each other, so it will make the shadows darker and darker as you continue burning. Now you can see that there are lines here that we can easily tell between the color and the shadows. So from there, we can do a little bit of smudging, and smudging allows us to mix the colors together so that way they are not just lines on the picture. So we'll actually turn down the rate here of the smudging so that way it's not too obvious, and we'll start doing a little bit of smudging on the image here. You can make the lines turn into actual colors instead of very apparent as lines. And that is a very quick and easy way to get started with coloring in GIMP.